What if I told you that you could design and live the life that you want on your own terms? Would you do it? Would you take a leap into the unknown? Or would you settle for a life of limits, a life of safety but lacking true meaning? Zephan Moses Blacksburg here, and I'm on a journey to help you ignite your inner passions, let go of your fears, and get more out of life. Will you join me and make this year your year of purpose? Welcome to the Year of Purpose podcast. Zephan Blacksburg here with another round of the Year of Purpose podcast. And today I have the pleasure to introduce to you Jim Palmer. Now, Jim is a marketing and business building expert and an in-demand coach. He's the founder of Dream Biz Academy and Dream Business Coaching and Mastermind program. Jim is the host of Newsletter Guru TV, the hit weekly web TV show watched by thousands of entrepreneurs and small business owners, and he is also the host of Stick Like Glue Radio, a weekly podcast based on Jim's unique brand of smart marketing and business building strategies. Jim is best known internationally as the Newsletter Guru and creator of No Hassle Newsletters, the ultimate done-for-you newsletter marketing program used by hundreds of clients in 9 countries. And today, I had the pleasure to speak with him. So Jim, thanks so much for being here today.
How you doing, Zephan? Congratulations on your new show. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Let's just go ahead and jump right in. You know, I learned a little bit about you before we jumped on the call that you were unemployed for a certain amount of time and ultimately wound up starting your business. If you don't mind sharing with me kind of where you started and who you were working for and what you were doing before all that happened, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I had a pretty good career. I spent a lot of years in retail, kind of like Bill Glazer, and I was in the bike business. He was in the clothing business, and then I went into franchise management, association management, and then the final job that I had as an employee, I was a VP of marketing for a training company. That position was eliminated, and so that was in July of the year 2000. I knew I'd be an entrepreneur, but I didn't feel I was quite ready because I had 4 teenagers at home, college knocking on the door. I knew my girls would want to get married. It just felt like, you know, I need to go find another job. But that turned into 15 months of unemployment, which really, to be completely wrecked me. I mean, my confidence, my ego was crushed. We lost whatever meager savings we had. We were racking up a lot of debt. And then in August of 2001, while still unemployed, I got stage 2 melanoma. And so that rattled my cage even more. And then after my surgery was successful, in October 2001, the job prospects just weren't great because remember that was right after September 11th,
right,
when, you know, the attack on our country. So I said, you know what? I've got no money at all, but you know, maybe the sign is now is the time maybe that's why I haven't found a job yet. Maybe because I'm supposed to start my own business. And so I started in October 2001. It took me a full year to get my first client. So I call my first 12 months in business revenue free, if you will. And but I did get my first client, second, third, fourth in about 4 years, 2005, 2006 timeframe. I built a multiple 6-figure business, but I realized at that point that I had created a job for myself. I happen to own the company, but I was doing everything. And even though I was starting to make money again, I had no life whatsoever. And that's when in 2006, I started to transition into the online world. A friend of mine, Mike Capuzzi, introduced me to Dan Kennedy. And I started reading all his books and just, oh my gosh, it was just like these speak to me, the No BS books. And so I became the Newsletter Guru. I started No Hassle Newsletters and several other in between. Closed my first business, and now I just live in kind of the online world with between No Hassle Newsletters, No Hassle Social Media. I got a printing business. I'm publishing my 6th book here in a couple weeks. We got a number of info products. So we've just really kind of blossomed into this whole new business model.
So you said that you spent an entire year before you got your first client. Is that correct?
That's
What kept you going at that point in time? Because you knew that your savings was starting to get chewed up. You know, you knew that you're kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel.
Savings were long gone by then.
Okay, so savings is long gone.
Yeah.
How did you kind of keep faith through all that and keep pushing? Because, you know, a lot of people kind of give up when they're almost at the top at that peak where success happens, and they
Yeah.
don't quite make it over that last hump.
Well, Zephan, so my new book is called Decide, the Ultimate Success Trigger, and there's a chapter in there where it's called Decide to Survive. And one of the books I read a long time ago was called 3 Feet from Gold by Sharon Lechter and Greg Reed. And really briefly, I mean, the whole book is about not giving up. So this guy, he digs this mine, and he's picture this way, he's digging, 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 and here's the diamond mine, and he gives up. And then he sells the mine for like $100 or what he thinks is a hole in the ground. This guy comes in, digs 3 more feet, and hits diamonds, right? So I never let go of that thought. So here's a couple things. Number one, I really believed in my heart that I was supposed to be an entrepreneur. So what I was doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And by the way, the other thing was I was doing everything. I mean, I wasn't just sitting here like bemoaning, where's my clients. I was every networking event I could go to, chambers of commerce. I was cold calling, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing everything I could. The other thing I did, by the way, and I didn't never really talked about this too much, but I wrote about it in the new book, is I went and got a job stocking shelves at my local Target. I worked the 4 a.m. shift, so I stocked shelves till like 11 or 12 o'clock. Then I came home, quickly changed clothes, went out and tried to sell my business, went to networking events at night, fell into bed, got up at 4 to work the 4 a.m. shift again. I did that for a year until my business started taking hold, and then I quit Target. But, you know, I had 4 teenagers at home, and there's this thing that they like called food. So, you know, a man's got to do what he's got to do. But here's the real key. It is tough business starting a small business, and it's never as easy as you think, and it's always going to be harder than you think it is. It's great when it works out, but those initial, you know, what I tell people is being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart, right? And the thing that I held on to, because truth be told, I'm talking about it now and I've got a smile on my face, but those were some dark days to be sure. And what I thought is, I know I'm going to be successful. I know what I'm offering, which is a good newsletter service. It could be used by many, many people. And I'll be darned if I'm going to quit, especially after month 2, month 3, month 4. Every month that went by that was dry, I felt, okay, the next month definitely has to be it. And I said, I'm not going to quit now after I went through all that. And then all that just got longer. And so as I look back on it now, all the things I was doing to build my business, I liken it to buying a big plot of land. I cleared the brush in the fields, and I turned over the soil, and I was planting seeds by making all the calls, doing all the marketing. I was planting seeds. Little did I know, when I was in kind of some really dark days, that the seeds were taking hold under the soil, so to speak, and I was about to reap a harvest, which when I got my first big client in month 12, I got like 3 more in rapid succession after that. So who says just because you got a business card, a website, and a brochure, you're supposed to instantly turn into a successful business? It doesn't happen like that.
Right. It definitely doesn't happen overnight, as much as people on the outside watching what we do think that it looks really easy, and anybody can just do it. You actually have a great book right behind your head there. I have an autographed copy of it from you, of the Stop Waiting for It to Get Easier.
Oh, do you? Good.
And that's really what it is people think that it's just going to get easier and that they can just kind of sit back and relax. And the truth is, you really just have to keep pushing. And you will get there, but you won't really notice it until you have enough time behind you where you can look back and say, I did this, which led to this, and because of that, I'm here.
I wrote that book last year. And there was a period, I do a fair number of interviews like this, but then I coach about 30 entrepreneurs. And I always get questions like, what's the best time to do this, to expand, to start this, to add a new program? And then when I was doing interviews with some radio stations, whatever, it's like, well, what do you think about the economy? Should people wait until things get easy? I'm like, stop waiting for it to get easier. It kind of became my mantra, and I liked it, so I wrote it down. Stop waiting for it to get easier, and create your dream business is kind of what I do with the Dream Business Academy. And so I said, there's a book here, and so I just started writing. And one of the things I first did is I went and researched all of the big brands and all the successful companies that were started all the way back to like the Depression. And there are major brands who started every single decade, no matter what was going on, crappy economy, depression, recession, whatever. Even Fred Smith started Federal Express in the late 70s during the Iranian oil embargo. I mean, I remember gas lines back then. I do remember that, right? And he bought these planes which needed jet fuel. And some of those planes initially were flying across the country with 6 packages or 6 envelopes. They started just doing the overnight letters.
Wow.
And I mean, talk about chutzpah.
Yeah.
And so he didn't wait for it to get easier. He started and he took off. And there's a lot, and as I point out in that book, there's a lot of reasons and benefits of starting, if you will, in a crappy economy. I mean, look at right now, for example, interest rates are really low. You could start a business online for, I don't know, $100 or less. I mean, almost nothing, right?
Exactly.
And so people that just kind of bemoan, when's the right time? Should I wait for the next election? Should I wait for
yesterday.
Stop waiting for it to get easier and just go now.
So let me ask you this, with a mantra of, stop waiting for it to get easier. I know that you mentioned that, you battled cancer. How has that affected your life, both kind of like your outtake on life in general, but also, has that given you a certain courage or strength in running your businesses? Do you run your businesses in a certain way now because of having gone through that?
Well, you're very perceptive and profound with the question because, I had a healthy ego and I had kind of a free will and lifestyle. And when you face your mortality like that, there was about a 3-week period of time, Zephan, where I didn't know if my chances of being alive in 5 years were 80-20 or 50-50. And when you're told that, things get real clear real fast. And as a result, I do 3 things differently now. I place a much higher priority on the important relationships, obviously my family and some friends, and the relationships are the most important thing, not things. I like to have things, but if I get them, I don't. If I get them, that's cool. If I don't get them, that's okay. It's the relationships in your life. So I place a higher value in relationships. My wife, Stephanie, and I, we give back and serve more. And in a way, we do so much. I'm not saying that to say, look at me. I'm saying we're making up for lost time. So we give back and serve and we volunteer. We do a ton of things like that. And then the other thing is I laugh a lot more. I've always loved to laugh, but I laugh a lot. And the other thing I've noticed, Zephan, is that I don't take things too seriously anymore. I mean, when things go bad, about the only time I really get upset is if somebody messes with my family or is kind of rude or disrespectful to someone on my team. But I mean, if things go bad, like I'm supposed to have a new website up today. Mm-hmm. It's now, I'm told it's going to be at tonight or tomorrow morning. 10 years ago, I would have been like, what the hell? Come on. Right. It's like, okay, so it'll go up tomorrow. I'll miss one day. It's not a big deal. It's amazing when you go through something like that, it's like your vision, your priorities, everything shifts. And every day, honest to God, I get up every day and I just thank God for the gift of the day because it's not guaranteed. And I try and do something good during the day and I try and be productive during the day, but every day's a gift. And I trust me when I say I didn't always have that mindset.
So when you hear news like that, what kind of runs through your mind? I mean, what fears do you have? Obviously, you've got a family, you've got kids, you've got a lot going on. What was the first thing to pop in your mind when that happened?
Okay, I'm going to have to be careful because I've mentioned this once or twice when I'm speaking and it causes me to choke up. But I remember sitting on the metal table in the surgeon's office. My wife, Stephanie, was sitting in a chair next to me. And the surgeon walked in. He goes, "Hey, Jim," very matter of fact, right? He goes, from the biopsy, I can't tell if it's stage 2 or stage 3. We won't know until surgery, which was like a 3-week period of time. This all happened very fast. And I'm telling you, 2 weeks prior to this, I'd never heard the term melanoma. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what it was. And I said, okay, well, what's different? What's stage 2, stage 3? I don't know what that means. He goes, well, with stage 2, your chance of survival on average are 80% to live past 5 years. And I thought, okay, 80%, that's pretty good. I said, what if it is stage 3? He says, well, it's 50-50. Instantaneously, my girls, I have twin girls. I have 2 older boys and 2 twin girls, and they were 13 at the time. And I thought 13 and 5 is 18. Oh, God, I might not see my girls graduate high school. I probably won't see them get married. and I completely lost it. And Stephanie kind of took over the questioning and helped me schedule surgery for 3 weeks. I had to think about that and what
Yeah.
that meant. I look back on it now, and as hard as it was, I'm so glad I went through it because I'm a much different man right now. I'm a different person, and like I say, I have a much higher priority on important things. I have a better relationship with the Lord, and it really, I call it my season of crises because it took who I was, absolutely brought me to my knees, and made me a better person for having gone through that.
And you mentioned that after going through that, you wanted to make up for lost time by giving back a lot more. How important is it for us to give back or to learn to give back sooner? Because I know that at least people in my age group, we're going through college, we're getting out of college, we're getting jobs. It's kind of like this me time of like our personal growth and our development. But what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that it seems very important to start giving back at an earlier age or as soon as you possibly can. Tell
Absolutely.
me a little bit about the value that you place on giving
You know,
back.
the very first sentence in the book, The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, is it's not about you. And so I totally believe that, and I get it now. And so I believe, being a Christian, I believe we're here to serve God and to serve others. And there was a time in my life when I didn't go to church all the time, and when I did, if I put $20 in the offering plate, I thought it was a big deal. I know that's not a big deal. It's only a big deal if you're grossing $200, right? Because we're supposed to give 10%. And what I started getting into that more and more. And it's funny, I had some mentors in my church, but I actually, believe it or not, will credit Dan Kennedy for helping me become a tither. Because as much as I knew you're supposed to tithe from, my church upbringing and my learnings, I don't know which book it is, but Dan actually talked about the power of 10 and 10. Like you take 10% and give it to charity, and you take 10% and save it and live off the 80%. I don't know which book it is, but I'm like, somehow, because Dan said it, I believed it, and so I started doing it. And I started growing because it's depending on how much you make, it's like a chunk of money, right? And then someone told me as we were doing more and more, I asked somebody and they said, you know what? Don't worry, you cannot outgive God. And so the more we gave over the last 5 years, the more we've been blessed, both in our business and our personal life. And it works. So when I sometimes will talk about this when I speak, depending on the venue, and I'll say, you don't even have to believe in God. Just believe, if you believe in the universe or some power, giving money and also your time to help others, those less fortunate, it comes back to you. And it's kind of hard to understand if you don't do it, but I'm living proof. So, I got involved with this charity called Good Works. I was on their board. I helped them with marketing. In addition to making monthly financial contributions, I also donate one Saturday a month, and me and about 6 or 8 guys from my church, we go out and rehab homes for low-income people. Good Works provides all the materials, and we provide the labor, and we re-insulate their house, we replace windows, we do it all. And it's a full day every month for free, basically. Not basically, it's for free, right? Donating
Yeah.
our time. And we make such a difference in the lives of others who otherwise there's no way in the world they'd be able to fix their homes. And what I tell people if they struggle with this whole concept of giving back is, I said, just try it, because no one would ever convince me that the last 5 years where I've had really big growth in my business cannot be tied to the fact that we give and serve more. There's a definite correlation there.
So I want to get into your book in just a second, but real quick, let me ask you this. How has your quality of life changed since both going through this transformation of realizing the value of life, and when it's kind of like, you don't know if it's today or it's tomorrow or next month or next year when it could end, to this place where, multiple successful businesses, author, coach, speaker, how has your quality of life changed? And on top of, volunteering your time more and being, more selfless and giving.
It's interesting, and this again because of maybe my personal transformations effort. But if I had the success that I have today and the businesses and the books and things like that, if I had that, 13, 15 years ago, I probably would have been an arrogant SOB, like I would have been so full of myself. I realize now that, and again, this goes to my faith. I believe everything that I have is a blessing and a gift from God, right? I also know it can all disappear. I've witnessed that. So it's one of the cool things about going through my season of crises. I have lived with like almost nothing. I mean, I had my home. We never missed a meal. But I mean, talk about when you lose your income and you lose in a large kind of your way of life. I mean, there's no going out to eat anymore. I mean, you frozen pizza from the cheap grocery store. I mean, there's a lot of things you do to survive because that's what you have to do. But again, I don't take things too seriously. Things don't bother me too much. I mean, last year I bought a boat, kind of what I call, I scratched a 34-year itch and bought a nice boat. And if next year I didn't have my boat anymore, I'm so glad I had my boat for 2 years. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's this thing where I just kind of roll with what's happening. I work really, really hard because I do believe we need to work hard. Otherwise, you don't just get handed success. You do have to work hard. But by the same token, if something happens or if it doesn't happen, I believe that's the way it's supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? So I don't get super bummed if something doesn't happen. I think, okay, there's something better coming along. It's kind of like, the expression, when one door closes, another one opens.
Exactly. So being grateful for, what we have right now, whether it's a small amount of time or a big amount of time, because nothing really is permanent. Let's jump forward into your book that you're getting ready to release. So you've got a few books out right now. You've got The Magic of Newsletter Marketing, Stick Like Glue, The Fastest Way to Higher Profits, It's Okay to Be Scared, and Stop Waiting for It to Get Easier. What do we have to be excited for that's about to come out?
Yeah, it's called Decide, the Ultimate Success Trigger. And, I wrote 5 books in 5 years. And so last fall, I decided I need to take a break from book writing. I don't want to write any more books. And, I've learned not to ignore the nudges. Okay, that's another thing. I get taps on the shoulder and says, you got to do this. And I think, okay, I didn't hear that. And then I'll get another tap on the shoulder. No, you really need to do this. And it's interesting. I was at one of my live events called Dream Business Academy. There was one in Philadelphia last September. And I taught this module for about an hour. It was called Mindset, Money, and Success. And I share a lot of my story that I've started to share with you, Zafin, about the early years, the debt that I incurred, really balancing my early business on credit cards and doing all this different stuff. And so I'm really pulling back the curtain, not only just saying, hey, there's some good strategies. You go to seminars, good strategies, that and the other thing. But I like it when you learn about the struggles they went through also. So my commitment to people who come to my event is I'm very transparent and real. And so I started sharing some of this stuff. And I looked out in the audience and I saw 4 grown men with tears in their eyes. And I thought, wow, I'm really hitting home here, right? And I didn't call them out or, hey, look at you crying. But I thought, yeah, I made the connection that this is really hitting home. What I kind of realized from that conversation or that talk I was given was that these people are struggling right now. One person came up to me after it was over and said, I just want you to know what you shared was really impactful. And he said, you've given me the power to keep on keeping on because I'm there right now. I thought that was like, wow, it was hugely powerful.
Yeah.
And so a couple more things like that. And then people started telling me, because my events are kind of small, they said, you need to write a book on this stuff that you teach here. And because it needs to go out there to a bigger audience. And so that's when I wrote the book.
That's great. And so this is launching when? Because I know it's coming up really
It's
soon.
launching Monday, March 9th is the official launch date. And we're actually going to do something kind of cool. It's a strategy that I've seen other people do. We're going to give the book away for free, the actual paperback, and just cover the shipping and handling. And I hope to sell, or I hope to give away up to 1,000 books for free with just shipping and handling.
Great. So we'll have to let everybody know who's listening and watching this that
I appreciate that.
Claim a copy of this book because we'll be releasing this episode pretty much right around when the book comes out. So
good. Well, the website will be Decide for Success Book. Decide for FOR successbook.com.
Awesome, awesome. And, I'd love to have people learn, more about your story. So everybody, I highly encourage whoever's watching and listening. I know this is both on iTunes and YouTube, so you might be watching, you might be listening, but definitely look into this book and head over to that website. We'll be sure to have a link on our website. That way you can click and go straight to that if you're watching this on www.yearofpurpose.com. Jim, you have an absolutely amazing story. I know that 30 minutes doesn't really give it enough time and enough justice, but I really want to thank you for being willing to share that. I know that there's some private information in there, and you've been through a lot of hardship. I really appreciated your book, Stop Waiting. So I just wanted to let my viewers know and let you know that I'm thankful, because that has made an impact on my life. I worked at Apple and quit my job there because it was one of those like, well, do I start a business now or next year? And it was actually right around when I got that book.
Are you kidding me? So my book helped you to quit your job and start your entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
You just made my day, man. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so it was one of the tools that I used on my road to success, and it was amazing because somebody actually gifted me a signed copy of it. I had never met you before, but we had kind of connected through our past and me working with Glazer Kennedy and in the marketing world. So,
yeah.
I just wanted to take this moment to thank you and let everyone else know that it's definitely worth checking out not only your new book, but your other books as well. What is the best, I know you have a lot of different channels, you have a podcast, a couple things going on. What's the best place for people to kind of keep track of where everything's happening?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't even know how many websites. There's one for every book, every program, everything. But getjimpalmer.com, www.getjimpalmer.com. From there, links to the video show, the podcast, all my books, everything. If you go to getjimpalmer.com, you'll find what you're looking for.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone who is watching this episode. Don't forget that we do put show notes and a transcript up on our website at www.yearofpurpose.com, and you can find our video on YouTube and our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. This is Zephan Blacksburg, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks, Jim.
See ya.
You've probably heard me talk about designing a life that you actually want to live. You might have even heard about my travels or experiences and thought to yourself, yeah, I do want to do that. Eventually, someday I'll probably do it, and my guess is that you've been thinking about doing it for a long time. So I want to tell you this: stop thinking. Your time is right now. You don't need any more time, you don't need any more info. You don't need to keep putting it off and planning for the perfect time, because the truth of the matter is this: you could be the person who sits around and thinks about living a better life, or you can be the person that decides that today is the day that you're going to actually do it, and I want that for you. Because you already have what it takes. You've got a fire inside. Even if you can't see it right now, it's lit, but you need to open yourself up to the possibilities and throw a couple logs into the flames. So join me and the Year of Purpose tribe by subscribing to our YouTube channel and iTunes podcast. And if you really like us, please leave a review. This is Zephan Moses Blacksburg, and I can't wait to see you again on the Year of Purpose podcast.